Imagine a city of marble shimmering under a Mediterranean sun, a place where every stone tells a story and every corner whispers secrets of the past. This is a city that has stood the test of time, its grandeur undiminished by the centuries. Grand temples reach for the heavens, their columns standing as silent sentinels of history. These structures were not just buildings, they were symbols of the divine, places where mortals could connect with the gods. Chariots thunder through crowded streets, the lifeblood of a city that never slept. The hustle and bustle of daily life, the clamor of merchants and the shouts of soldiers created a symphony of activity. This was Rome at its peak, a beacon of power and civilization, a city that drew people from all corners of the known world, each bringing their own culture, their own stories, adding to the rich tapestry of Roman life. But how did a small city-state on the Italian peninsula grow to dominate the known world? The journey from a humble beginning to a sprawling empire is a tale of resilience, innovation, and relentless ambition. The story of Rome is a tale of ambition, strategy, and ultimately human fallibility. It is a narrative filled with legendary figures, from cunning generals to visionary emperors, each playing a part in the grand saga. Rome's rise was not preordained. It began with a collection of villages, ruled by kings, embroiled in conflict with their neighbors. These early struggles forged a resilient spirit, a determination to survive and thrive. Through cunning and military prowess, Rome gradually expanded its influence. Each victory was a stepping stone, each conquest a testament to their strategic brilliance and unyielding resolve. Victories brought land, wealth, and slaves, fueling further conquest. The spoils of war were paraded through the streets, a display of Rome's growing might and prosperity. But success came at a cost. Social tensions simmered as the gap between rich and poor widened. The marketplace, once a symbol of unity, became a battleground for social strife. The thirst for power and glory would be Rome's making and ultimately its undoing. Leaders vied for control, their ambitions leading to internal conflicts that weakened the very foundations of the empire. The grandeur of Rome, once unassailable, began to crumble under the weight of its own success. Early Rome was a society of farmers and soldiers, a community deeply rooted in the land and the traditions of their ancestors. These early Romans were hardy and resilient, shaped by the demands of agriculture and the constant threat of conflict. They lived simple lives, but their hearts were filled with a fierce determination to protect their homes and families. Forged in the crucible of constant warfare, the early Romans were no strangers to battle, facing threats from neighboring tribes and distant invaders alike. Each conflict honed their skills and strengthened their resolve, turning them into formidable warriors. Their discipline and organization were unmatched. The Roman legions, with their rigorous training and strict hierarchy, became the backbone of Rome's military might. Every soldier knew his place and his duty, creating a cohesive and deadly force on the battlefield. The legendary Roman legions marched across Italy, subduing rivals and expanding the Republic's dominion. With each victory, Rome's influence grew and its reputation as a powerful and relentless force spread far and wide. The Punic Wars against Carthage, a mighty maritime power, tested Rome's mettle. These wars were some of the most challenging conflicts Rome had ever faced, pushing its military and resources to the limit. Hannibal's daring crossing of the Alps with elephants sent shockwaves through the Republic. Yet, Rome persevered. Despite the initial shock and heavy losses, the Romans adapted and eventually turned the tide against their formidable foe. The victories at Zama and the destruction of Carthage cemented Rome's dominance in the Western Mediterranean. These triumphs were not just military successes, but also symbols of Rome's unyielding spirit and strategic brilliance. But the spoils of war brought new challenges. As Rome's territories expanded, so did the complexities of governing a vast and diverse empire. The influx of wealth and slaves from conquered lands began to change the fabric of Roman society. Vast territories and wealth poured into Rome, enriching the ruling class but also breeding corruption and decadence. The simple, austere values that had once defined Roman life were increasingly overshadowed by luxury and excess. The old values of simplicity and civic duty began to erode, replaced by greed and a lust for power. Political corruption became rampant, and the gap between the rich and the poor widened, leading to social unrest and instability. The stage was set for a new breed of ambitious leaders, men who would use Rome's wealth and power to further their own ambitions. These leaders, driven by personal glory and political gain, would shape the future of Rome in ways that would leave a lasting legacy on history. By the 1st century BC, the Roman Republic, once a symbol of stability, was teetering on the brink of collapse. The Republic, which had stood for centuries as a beacon of governance and order, was now plagued by internal conflicts and power struggles. The very foundations of Roman society were being shaken, and the once unified republic was fracturing under the weight of its own ambitions and contradictions. Internal strife and social unrest became commonplace. The streets of Rome were filled with the cries of discontented citizens, and the air was thick with tension. Economic disparities widened, and the gap between the rich and the poor grew ever larger. Political factions vied for control, each promising to restore the republic to its former glory, but only deepening the divisions. The rise of Julius Caesar, a brilliant general and charismatic populist, further exacerbated these divisions. Caesar, with his unmatched military prowess and ability to connect with the common people, quickly became a polarizing figure. To some, he was a hero who could save Rome. To others, a dangerous demagogue who threatened the republic's very existence. Caesar's conquests in Gaul brought him immense wealth and popularity, but also aroused the suspicion of the Roman Senate. His military campaigns were not just about expanding Rome's territories, they were also about consolidating his own power. The Senate watched with growing unease as Caesar's influence expanded, fearing that his ambitions would undermine the republic's democratic principles. Fearing his growing power, the Senate ordered Caesar to disband his legions and return to Rome. This was a direct challenge to Caesar's authority and a test of his loyalty to the republic. The Senate hoped to curb his influence and restore balance, but the move only served to escalate the conflict. Caesar faced a momentous choice: submit to the Senate or march on Rome and seize power. He chose the latter. This decision was not made lightly. It was a calculated risk that would plunge Rome into a civil war. Caesar's choice to defy the Senate was a bold statement of his determination to reshape the future of Rome, even if it meant tearing the republic apart. Crossing the Rubicon River with his legions, Caesar ignited a civil war that would forever change the course of Roman history. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" has since become synonymous with making an irreversible decision. Caesar's march on Rome was a point of no return, setting the stage for a series of events that would lead to the end of the Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. His victory ushered in an era of autocratic rule, signaling the death knell of the Roman Republic. The Republic, which had once been a model of shared governance and civic virtue, was now replaced by an empire ruled by a single man. Caesar's triumph marked the beginning of a new chapter in Roman history, one that would see the rise of emperors and the fall of the ideals that had once defined the Republic. From the ashes of the Republic rose the Roman Empire, with Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, later known as Augustus, at its helm. Augustus was a shrewd politician and a ruthless consolidator of power. He skillfully centralized authority, established a professional army, and ushered in a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana. Under Augustus and his successors, the Roman Empire reached its zenith. A network of roads, aqueducts, and grand cities spread across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roman law and administration brought order and stability to conquered territories. The arts and literature flourished, leaving behind an enduring legacy that continues to inspire awe and admiration. Section 5. The seeds of decay, cracks in the foundation. Yet even at the height of its power, the seeds of Rome's decline were being sown. The empire's vast size, while a testament to its power, also proved to be a liability. Maintaining order and control across such a vast territory proved increasingly difficult and expensive. Corruption and inefficiency plagued the imperial administration. The reliance on slave labor, while economically profitable in the short term, stifled technological innovation and created a vast underclass with little stake in Roman society. Meanwhile, a series of weak and inept emperors, more concerned with personal pleasure than governing, further weakened the empire's foundations. Section 6. The barbarian tide, pressure from without. As internal problems mounted, Rome faced a growing threat from beyond its borders. Waves of migrating Germanic tribes fleeing from the Huns in the east began to exert pressure on the empire's frontiers. The Roman legions, once the pride of the empire, were increasingly stretched thin and demoralized. The Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD marked a turning point. A Roman army was decisively defeated by the Visigoths, shattering the aura of invincibility that had long surrounded the legions. The defeat sent shockwaves through the empire, signaling to other barbarian tribes that the once mighty Roman Empire was vulnerable. Section 7. The empire divided, a house in two. Facing mounting internal and external pressures, Emperor Diocletian implemented a radical solution in 286 AD. He divided the empire in two. The Western Roman Empire, with its capital in Rome, faced the brunt of the barbarian migrations. The Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital in Constantinople, proved more resilient. The division of the empire, while intended to improve governance, ultimately hastened its demise. The two halves of the empire drifted further apart, politically and culturally. The Western Roman Empire, starved of resources and beset by internal strife, proved unable to withstand the relentless barbarian onslaught. Section 8. The Fall of Rome, a civilization crumbles. The year 476 AD marks a pivotal moment in history, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, a mere teenager, was deposed by Odoacer, a Germanic general. The once mighty Roman Empire, which had dominated the Western world for centuries, had breathed its last. The fall of Rome was not a single event, but a long and drawn-out process marked by internal decay, economic decline, and relentless barbarian pressure. It was a slow-motion collapse, a gradual unraveling of a once great civilization. Section 9. Legacy of the Eagle, Echoes of Rome. Though the Western Roman Empire crumbled, its legacy continues to shape the world we live in. Roman law, language, architecture, and political thought have left an enduring mark on Western civilization. The ruins of Roman cities and monuments stand as a testament to the grandeur and ingenuity of this once mighty empire. From the legal systems of many modern nations to the languages spoken across Europe and beyond, the echoes of Rome can be heard in countless aspects of our lives. The story of Rome, with its dramatic rise and fall, serves as a timeless reminder of the cyclical nature of history and the enduring power of human ambition, both for good and for ill.